All right, let's have some fun here. It's the first practice report of October 1st. The Giants are actually practicing right now. If you hear some juvenile or some New Orleans-based rapper or musician playing in the background, it's because they're getting ready to play in a loud and raucous Caesar Superdome. B. London here alongside of longtime NFL reporter for the Post, Ryan Dunleavy. You've got two articles coming out in the Post this week. The floor is yours, sir. Which one you want to go with first?
I think you always start with the quarterback,
Yes.
right, Brandon? You always start, and it's October 1st now, but I'm think back to April, March, when quarterback draft was what everybody wanted to talk about, right? And it was, who are the Giants going to get? Who are the Saints going to get? And the Giants end up with Jaxson Dart. The Saints end up with Tyler Shuck, who lost his starting job competition to Spencer Rattler. Rattler's 0-4. It's probably not long before Tyler Shuck takes over that job. Both teams had both guys in. The Giants end up with Dart at 25, but Joe Shane was nervous on draft night about the Saints possibly trading up from 25 ahead of him to get Jaxson Dart. They obviously didn't happen. They waited and stayed at 40 for Shuck. I know people, Dan Orlovsky over at ESPN, thought the Saints should have taken Jaxson Dart as high as 9 in the first round. So then we wouldn't even been having that discussion in the 20s, right? So I love that kind of stuff, that sliding doors, Marvel Universe kind of what-if theories. There's a world where Jaxson Dart's on the Saints and Tyler Shuck's on the Giants right now, and maybe Russell Wilson's still starting. So I always think that's interesting where these quarterbacks wind up, and Dart's going to go down there and play because it's his starting job now, but there was a chance he would be somewhere else. That's what makes the draft so interesting.
And that could have been back-to-back years where the Saints grabbed a guy that the Giants wanted. If you go back to the draft the year before, the 2024 draft, they grabbed Kool-Aid McKinstry out of Alabama, which forced the Giants to take Tyler Nubin in the second round as opposed to addressing the corner problem or adding or drafting a corner. So now that we're in the situation that we're in right now.
How did the Giants end up I love this stuff. How did the Giants end up addressing that cornerback problem a year later? Taking Paulson
Adebo, who's now going back to the Saints, going to play against the Saints for the first time. So, I mean, there's just a lot of storylines to connect 6 degrees of draftuation here for this game. But now let's talk about Jaxson Dart going into his second start. A lot of people thought that he should have had his first start in New Orleans against a sorry, or what people would call a sorry Saints team, but not at all. This is a Saints defense that's ranked 15th and 18th across the board, and what I feel is though Saints defense that suffered through what the Giants defense used to suffer in previous years, having an offense that couldn't score points. So Jaxson Dart in his second start, I thought he did a great job using his legs. Now it's time for him to adapt and really show why some teams should have grabbed him in the first round, the first 10 picks, by being able to put his big arm on display like he did in the preseason.
Yeah, totally agree. Obviously, out at practice today, he has his left leg taped up, so maybe that means he's less likely to run. I don't know. We'll see. He obviously took a lot of big shots in that game. Part of that's on him for not sliding. Part of that's on an offensive line that gave up 6 sacks. So you would definitely like to see him be a little bit more, use his mobility, but stay in the pocket and throw rather than take off and run. And that's something all young quarterbacks have to learn, is how to get through your reads and not just take off when the first or second read isn't there. Certainly you would like to see him use his arm. Like you said, Saints defense better than they get credit for. It's an 0-4 team, but they were just hanging with the Bills last week in the fourth quarter. Cam Jordan's, a borderline Hall of Fame pass rusher who's seen everything there is to see. Demario Davis, former Jet guy, longtime linebacker. He'll be playing cat and mouse games with Dart all game. So, there's the Saints might have a hard time scoring, but they will be up to the test of Jaxson Dart.
When we talk about the weapons that Jaxson Dart now has on the perimeter with Malik Nabers being out for the season, you got a guy like Darius Slayton who's kind of been a stable, a consistent Giant throughout his 6 years here. But now you've got some unknowns when we're talking about Jalen Hyatt, the reintroduction of Jalen Hyatt, and then you have the undrafted rookie in Bo Collins who caught the deep ball from Russell Wilson in the preseason. Who do you go with if you're Mike Kafka and Brian Dable in terms of trying to fill as much as that void that was left by Nabers as possible?
From a wide receiver standpoint, I'd give the first one to Hyatt. Like, he took 29 snaps the other day after Nabers went down. He didn't get targeted. Look, it's a now or never point for Jalen Hyatt. There comes to be this in your career as an NFL player. It is now or never for him. For years, they've said, well, he's the fourth receiver, and the three guys stayed healthy last year. So how many snaps are there for a fourth receiver? And you can buy that to a great degree. That's not the case anymore. Nabers is out. You need three receivers. So, like, if he can't put it all together now, then it isn't about opportunity. It's something else. So we'll figure out now, once he gets the opportunity, if he can make the most of it. I wouldn't rule out, I don't know, this game or moving forward. Like, maybe the Giants just don't use a lot of three receivers, Brandon. Maybe this is a team that likes their tight ends. Maybe they use Hurts as an extra blocker and Theo out in routes. Maybe they use Theo, Johnson, and Bellinger together, and they go with two tight ends and two wide receivers and try to create some mismatches that way. I think Daniel Bellinger is a pretty underrated player, so maybe they do some of that rather than as much three receivers as they were doing with Nabers, Slayton, and Wandale.
I was actually going to go the other way, and I'm thinking they should go four receiver sets now because you're struggling in the running game. So if you could put four receivers out there, maybe you can get the quick game going. But, you know, getting the ball out to guys fast. You got a Wandale Robinson. You have yak-type receivers. Jalen Hyatt, I'm waiting. I'm waiting to see it because he's a guy that I root for. I love his story. When my kid was born, I'm laying in the hospital the next morning, and Hello Rookie came on, and I'm sitting there tearing up because his parents had so much involvement with him and his development and his journey. And I'm sitting there like, Daddy's gonna be there for you. So I guess I've got like some like sentimental attachment to the Jalen Hyatt story. But he is a guy that's made plays in this league before. Would love to see the consistencies there, and would love to see the targets so we can actually evaluate him. On the other end of it, yes, I think now is the time for Theo Johnson and Daniel Bellinger to be more involved in this offense. If you do go with the 12 personnel, one running back, two tight ends, maybe that can get the run game going a little bit more. Plus, Daniel Bellinger has sure hands. The guy, he may not have the wiggle enough for yak, but he catches the football, and that's what I feel like the Giants need the most right now, is just a stable guys that'll catch the football in a third and long situation to keep the chains moving. On the flip side of it now, we know about the big three in Abdul Carter, Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeaux. Brian Burns has been absolutely lights out, playing like a superhero at the beginning of this season. Abdul Carter starting to come along, had 8 quarterback pressures against the Chargers. Kayvon Thibodeaux is another player you're going to be writing about in the post this week. 2.5 sacks, off to a pretty solid start this year.
Everybody remembers the year that he had 10.5, 11 sacks, whatever, 11.5 maybe, whatever it was. Yeah. But people will tell you that he's actually playing better now than he was playing then. Like, though he was getting the sacks then, but he wasn't as disruptive as he is right now. And I'm curious. Like, people tell you this is I think Dable was just saying this is the best he's seen him play, or the most involved he's seen him play. And I think there's a couple things in here. One, he did that off-season wrestling training. Yep. How much has that helped him? 2, they drafted Abdul Carter. The offshoots of that are, 1, did that light a fire under his butt because his playing time all of a sudden wasn't guaranteed? And 2, has that helped him keep fresher legs? Because Kayvon was playing 85% of the snaps, 90% of the snaps. Now it's more of a rotation, so he's fresher in the fourth quarter. Yeah, so, yeah. And then 3, he's approaching his contract year. Every NFL, this isn't Kayvon specific. Every NFL player, when it's they tick it up a little bit when a contract's on the line, right? So all that is coming together at, I think, the perfect time for him. And I think you're seeing a Kayvon. Most people thought, like, oh, he's going to lose his starting job. He's the third of the 3 edge rushers, and right now he's making it like a Brian Burns. Right now is clearly 1. He's playing out of his mind. But I think it's 2A and 2B with Abdul Carter right now.
And I love the wrestling training because you saw in the sack he had against his former teammate Justin Herbert how he grabbed and rolled. When I first saw him post on his social media that he was doing wrestling training, going down to his knees and all that, I'm like, man, Kayvon, get your big ass up. But hey, it worked. You know, a lot of things that these guys do in the offseason to better their game, to take their game to another level, a lot of the times it works, and that's something that has kind of helped him out. Having that big 3 have the game that they had against the Chargers, who Justin Herbert, this offense came in red hot. Now I feel as though the pressure is on, or not. Not the pressure. All eyes now are on the secondary now, because outside of Drew Phillips, no one's caused a turnover or created that turnover to dunk it in the turnover chest that they've been talking about, what they've been working on all throughout the offseason. Paulson Adebo heads back to New Orleans. I feel like he's been around the football. He's had his hands on the football. This could be a great game for him to come out and have a breakout game as a Giant, so Joe Shane starts to see a return on investment with the money he spent in the secondary in both him and Javon Holland.
Yeah, I totally agree. Guys are always fired up to go back to where they came from. I don't know the story there. I'm going to ask Paulson Adebo in about a half hour. What were their negotiations? Was there mutual interest in returning? Did you feel snubbed by them? Obviously, he was coming off a leg injury. So, but that's the organization that knew you both best, and were they willing to pay you as a number one corner? So you'll see how that goes. I think totally agree. He'll be fired up, and he's been up and down. He did a great job against Terry McLaurin, but then he gave up the big catches against Pickens, who we saw torch the Packers the other day, so there might be no shame in that. But to your point, Brandon, too, about the big three, they torched the Chargers offensive line. That was missing Mekhi Becton, starting right guard, Rashawn Slater, starting left tackle, and for most of the game, Joe Alt starting right tackle. So that was a bad offensive line they torched. Brian Daboll just made a point a half hour ago of saying, I think 3 times, that the Saints offensive line has 4 first-round draft picks and a second-round draft pick. I don't know if that was him sending a message to his defense about the challenge, to like, hey, you're going to have to do it again against a much better offensive line. I don't know if that was him making a point to the front office about this is how you build an offensive line. But there was something to Brian Daboll highlighting the draft status of their offensive line.
On the flip side of that, now that, okay, let's say that they don't generate 20 quarterback pressures, 12 quarterback hits like they did against a banged-up Chargers offensive line. Now that puts a question mark or the spotlight on guys like Tay Banks and Cordell Flott. Right now, I feel like it's Flott is the cornerback too, but neither one of them has still kind of taken that CB2 job yet.
Yeah, nobody's taken it yet. I think they're favoring Flott in that position right now. Flott, let's also not forget, I don't know what it would have been. It probably would have been something crazy. But Flott made the game-ending tackle on the Chargers last week when they were trying to get out of bounds and they had no timeouts. Flott made the game-ending tackle. Probably lost in the shuffle. Probably not a big play, but who knows? With the way the Giants give up 70-yard field goals, like maybe the Chargers were going to trot out their kicker for a 70-yard field goal if that guy got out of bounds. So Flott made that tackle, so we didn't even have to worry about that. Banks returned kicks last game, which I thought was interesting, and he did a pretty good job at it. He had 2 kick returns with the Giants down a couple guys in the kick return, so maybe that's a place to get a little extra value out of him and help him gain a little bit of confidence with the ball in his hand.
And he did break up the slant on that third down on Thornton. So that was a play that could be made. And again, if you're finding ways to get him the ball or get him active, then that could help on the defensive side to kind of keep him in the game. Finish this up here as we get ready, because I don't hear that much Juvenile or any Cash Money records taking over for the 99 and 2000s being played in the background. So that means practice might be wrapping up pretty soon.
Yeah, I just think it's an important week for the Giants. Like, if you're 2-3 and your rookie quarterback has a 2-game winning streak, you have a season. And the Eagles are coming here on Thursday, and you know that could be ugly. But like, you have a season at 2-3, and you beat the Saints, a team that like you're on even par with. Show that you're better than them, and people group you differently. If you're 1-4, you don't have a season, and it's just all about your quarterback.
Favorite New Orleans rapper?
I don't have a favorite New Orleans rapper. I have favorite New Orleans food. Give me a roast beef po' boy.
Okay, there we go. Paul said the same thing earlier. I love it. That's your practice report for October 1st. For Ryan Dunleavy, I'm Brandon London. Back that thing up.